And we're so pleased to be joined as he Skypes in, I believe, from Atlanta, John Hope Bryant, the chairman and CEO of Operation Hope and author of the book, How the Poor Can Save Capitalism. John Hope Bryant, it's always good to have you here, and perhaps there is something hopeful this morning we can deal with on these troubled issues from Ferguson to New York to elsewhere. Where do you come down specifically on this case, John?
Well, JD, I think that we're looking at the right things in the wrong ways. And thanks for having me on. This is an economic issue, really, underneath everything else. If you deal with class, you get race for free. The reality is that the young man in New York was selling loosies. He was selling loose cigarettes. He wasn't murdering anybody. He wasn't attacking anybody. In fact, I think the reports are he had actually broken up a fight. But he was selling loosies against ordinance. Let me say that. It was against ordinance, against the law. So fine, hit him with an economic fine. Give him a penalty. Make him go to court and pay for it. Make him do community service. But what happened with him would not have happened in downtown Beverly Hills with a resident of Beverly Hills. It just wouldn't have happened. So I'm not saying it's racist, but I am saying that it is about class and poverty, and that what he really wanted was a job. Michael Brown, he was stealing some cigars. Let's just call it what it was. And if he had a job, maybe he wouldn't have stolen the cigars. And maybe he wouldn't have been walking down the street at 12:30 in the afternoon. Maybe he'd have been at work. But it's not a black thing. Muhammad in Tunisia. The Arab Spring was not about Islamic extremism or somebody screaming, "I hate America," or "down to the West." It was a guy who, when he set himself on fire because he had a cart business that he wasn't allowed to operate, he said, "I just want to work," and set himself on fire. That was his last words. Governor of Tunisia fell. Arab Spring took off around the entire Middle East. And you can go on and on and on. The riots in Paris. That was the youth in the suburbs. That was an economic cry. The crisis is not enough jobs. 7 billion people. According to Gallup, 1.5 billion jobs. We need 1 or 2 billion more jobs. And right here in America, we need an economic renewal. And so we need to start looking at these young people as an economic engine to be tapped and not a problem to be set upon.
John, you said it's not a white thing or a black thing, but protests, sit-ins, and blockades have been erupting all across cities across America. Is this reminiscent in any way to the civil rights struggle in the 60s?
Sure it is. Well, it's a green thing, by the way. It's an economic thing. But
so how do we bridge that gap, though?
You got to create a solution. You got to figure out what you're for and not what you're against. Dr. King said, "I'm here to redeem the soul of America from the triple evils of war, racism, and poverty." He didn't say, "I'm here to protect black people." He was really talking about taking everybody up in a larger vision of ourselves. He essentially said, Dr. King said, "You can take no pleasure in the fact that there's a hole in my end of our boat. We're all sinking. This is America. This is not black America or brown America." So we have got to create solutions. And so far, the commentary has mostly been about throwing barbs and one group against the other. There is legitimate pain here. I don't want to say that racism is not an issue, but I can't fight racism. Let me make it very clear. I'm not trying to fight racism. That's not my deal. I don't think that's a war that can be won quickly. But we can fight and win a war on economic empowerment and jobs. As my book articulates, the poor are actually driving the largest economy on the planet. 70% of this economy is consumer spending, and it is things like car notes and rental payments and utility payments and going to Starbucks. It's not big stuff. So we can drive economic growth. And this is not big things. A guy in my book named Eric got a $36 notary stamp and is running a $17,000 a month business, a mobile notary business. You can do that in Ferguson. You can have a window washing service in Ferguson. And as a guy in Little Rock did, that's in my book, has 30 employees now on a contract. If you're a drug dealer, you are immoral and illegal, but you're not dumb. In fact, a drug dealer is basically an illegal entrepreneur. So we need to start reimagining our future and go from civil rights to silver rights.
And on that note, the only thing in our way right here is time, John Hope Bryant. We're going to step aside for a second, pay some bills, then bring you back. Speaking of economic engines driving things, there's more to come with John Hope Bryant here on America's Forum.